Pisces. My name is Audrey Alison. Thank you for joining me for your September 2015 forecast for the month. I want to thank you for subscribing and liking this channel. If you haven't already done so, I would really appreciate the support. And for liking my Facebook page, Audrey Alison, Astrology and Tarot. If you'd like to book with me, I'm at audreyalison.com. I do readings all through the week. All you do is select your PayPal amount. I get right back to you with that notification and send you some times for the week or two ahead. Okay, so let's get to the forecast because there's a lot of energy going on in September. And just to be real with you guys, it's not the best energy with the solar eclipses, lunar eclipse, and the Mercury retrograde. So September, although it's a shorter month, is not as smooth sailing as the months before. But let's start with Venus. On the 6th of September, Venus will be direct at 14 degrees of Leo, where she's been stationed since July. Now, she still remains in Leo through October 8th. This is in your 6th house of health. We love Venus direct now in the 6th house. You could have felt, Pisces, very tired over the last month and a half that she's been retro. I feel like with the 6th house, Venus is an awful detriment at all when she's retrograde. She just slows down the beautification process and the smoothing over process that she offers in the sector that she touches. She's love and money. So now that she's direct, there are more finances available for health practices, gym memberships, personal trainers, acupuncture, things that maybe your insurance wouldn't automatically cover. And I'm feeling, I don't have that kind of thing written down, but I'm feeling that for Pisces, that now that she's direct, things can go more smoothly in that area. Also, just feeling better might be the scenario with Venus direct in the 6th house. But after October 8th, she's going to enter your 7th house, which is really where you want Venus in your relationship sector. But we'll get to her next month. Now, our first new moon partial solar eclipse, the first eclipse energy is on the 13th of September. And this is at 20 degrees of Virgo in this 7th house of marriage and partnerships and business partnerships, the house of the others, the house of the secret, the hidden enemies. So what this can bring on with eclipse energy, it's a very abrupt energy that can pick people up and put them in positions that are better aligned on their soul path. And sometimes when eclipses come, we're not necessarily prepared for them or prepared for the change that may occur. And I'm not saying that all relationships will be dismantled, but those relationships that aren't built on solid foundation can find a rocky road ahead with the eclipse. So for those of you in business with someone, and the Mercury retrograde is following just a few days after on the 17th, I really want you to choose the words wisely around the middle of September. To be safe, I would just say all of September, because the eclipse energy and the retrograde, you can feel this slowing down weeks before Mercury actually retrogrades. But having a solar eclipse, new moon in the 7th, for those of you not in relationship, could eclipse someone into the picture. And this is not a time for action. It's a time of discerning and using the mental processes to determine if you're interested in someone or not really taking action, but becoming aware of what's around you. And eclipses remove the veil of something that might need to be seen and makes it very crystallized and clear to you. So some of you Pisceans could actually have someone already around you that you are seeing in a different light around the new moon, okay, on the 13th. So be aware of who's in your general area or who's interested in you, because there might be something expressed to you that you weren't aware of without the eclipse removing that veil. Now on the 17th, this is when Mercury retrogrades at 15 degrees of Libra in your 8th house of intimacies. This is why I say don't make too many decisions and take action in the intimate relationship sector because with Mercury retrograde there, that's going to affect the communication style of those you're intimate with, or the eighth house is also wills and inheritance and estates, and the eighth house of death and people that have passed. So you might have some information come through in the retrograde, but don't act on that right away, because I feel like there'll be more letters to follow, more emails to follow. And this retrograde lasts through October 9th. So, and also those of you waiting on settlements, now this is when you could hear from information or news, contacts, clients, all things Mercury, moving forward or coming in, getting back in touch with you, those things that have been on hold. Mercury brings in information from the past. It also brings in some nostalgia from the past, nostalgic lovers or intimacies, also settlements, things that have been put on hold. Don't take too much action here. Be aware of all the information coming in, but know that things will be more effective and details will make more sense completely after October 9th with Mercury direct. On that same day, Saturn on the 17th, Saturn is entering Sagittarius. He's leaving Scorpio after 2.5 years. Bye-bye. It's been real, but Saturn is entering into your 10th house of career. Now, what this could mean for you through December of 2017, this is a 2.5 year, 2 year, 4 months, whatever it is, process of Saturn causing some lessons learned, focus, some restriction in the 10th house. Saturn in the 10th could signal retirement, establishing roots and a foundation in the 10th house could mean leaving the career entirely for those of you in that position. It doesn't mean for those of you in your 30s, you'll lose your job. It could mean that you're feeling frustrated in that career path. You might realign yourself by the time he's done in 2.5 years, but it's not an imminent feeling. It's a long process. It's a few years with him allowing you to focus on the best possible career, where you'll be serving the most good, your highest potential. The 10th house is the highest status and your highest good. So with Saturn there, a lot of you Pisceans will be going through career changes, but it won't be thrust upon you in a Uranian kind of way, very abruptly. This will be a steady, long-rooted goal that's obtained here. Now our Sun makes his monthly transit on the 23rd. He is entering Libra in the 8th house where Mercury will be retrograde, conjunct the Sun. The Sun is the life force, so that's where your focus will be from that time, from the 23rd through October 22. And this is the house of intimacies, the house of wills and estates and settlements and land and things that you might be pending in that 8th house of people who have passed. So I feel like those of you who have been playing the waiting game, Mercury retrograde is conjunct the Sun here, will bring in the information that you've been waiting on, but it's not the time for action until after the 9th of October. On the 24th, Mars enters Virgo. So he leaves Leo, and then he enters this 7th house where the new moon partial solar eclipse begins. So with Mars being stamina and drive and determination, for those of you Pisceans single, this is great energy for bringing in a new love, a new date, a new dating situation, a new relationship actually, because it's not 5th house of just lighthearted energy, it's the actual relationship. It could be soulmate energy, the marriage potential partner. And Mars is a lot of sexual energy and physical energy. You will feel the need to really express and make something happen with Mars in the 7th. So you'll be maybe even online dating and initiating something towards relationship that maybe you haven't in the past. We end the month on the 27th with the full moon total lunar eclipse, my apologies, at 4 degrees of Aries. Now this is an awareness in your money sector. Pisces, I don't want you coming out of pocket the last week of September, because if you do, you might pay for something more than you should, or you might realize that the deal that you thought you were getting really isn't a great deal. And the full moon brings an awareness of rebudgeting, or how much money you really have. And remember, the eclipse removes the veil of things that really need to be seen. And the full moon is the awareness, the culmination. So I feel like you'll be discovering something regarding the money that you did not see earlier. That could be both positive and negative energies. It just depends on how it's affecting you and to what degree you hold 4 degrees of Aries in your natal chart. So please watch your ascendant signs for these forecasts, especially since there's an eclipse happening. If you're lucky enough to know your time of birth, you'll know what your rising sign is, your ascendant sign, and watch that forecast for me. Let's get to the cards and see what's up for Pisces. And as usual, I'm at audreyalison.com if you'd like to book with me. And thank you also for listening to the blog radio show, the Goddess Alive Radio talk show that I've been a guest on twice now. I feel like we'll be doing more of them in the fall, so we'll stay tuned for that. We had such a great turnout. Pisces, what is in store for you? September 2015, Pisces. Okay, this is coming up in a lot of signs. The Two of Swords is opposition energy. This month, Jupiter will be opposing Neptune. And this is occurring as well on the 17th, the same day Mercury retrogrades, the same day Saturn switches into Sagittarius. Now, this is mercurial energy because the swords are words, thoughts, all things air sign related, Mercury. Watch what you're saying through the retrograde in the eighth house of intimacy to people that you're very, very close with. But the opposition between Jupiter and Neptune is in your 7th house and 1st house, because Neptune, your ruling planet, is stationed with you, Pisces. And this opposition across the astrological wheel between the 1st and the 7th, where Jupiter's been in Virgo, your polar opposite sign, this is affecting the relationships. There's some tension for you on the 17th. I don't want you to really get into unnecessary verbal debates, arguments with the significant other. It's best to just zip it on that day. I would really recommend just whatever feelings you feel like you need to express, let them pass for the day and see how you really feel. I don't even want to say the 18th. I want to say wait a couple weeks before really expressing that thought. Now, you have the 6 of Cups. I love this card. This is the nurturer, nurturing the body, the 6th house of body and the 6th house of health and the 1st house of body, nurturing the self, not too much, not too little. Do you see how she's putting water in that next little pot? She's on the desert, so she has to conserve her water just as much as she wants to help nature and help the plants live. Perhaps you need to do the same in your life. You know, in California, I'm not currently in California, but that's where I'm living these years. You need to really watch how you're spending energy, and we're in a drought, so really conserve the use of water. And since you are a Piscean, I really feel like you need water more than most, and this card of balance and temperance is really wanting you to take heed of how much you're really using. 2015, we are not in the same environmental situation we were 20 years ago. When I see people watering their driveways, I want to rip my face off. You really need to watch the water you're using. Maybe that's a personal message to some of you. Now, the 4 of Swords is another mental card, mercurial, thought, the sage, the man in meditation, thinking about someone. But let me say this is the Mercury retrograde, tends to bring in communications from the past. For those of you out there that recently broke up with, actually it doesn't have to be recent, but I just said that, so let me go with that. That recently broke up with a man, whether you're male or female, this is about them recalling the past, them recalling what they went through. You could hear from a lover in the Mercury retrograde in the 8th house of intimacy. Someone's thinking of you, Pisces. So Mercury retrograde tends to bring in that communication from the past. Now you have 2 cards at the end, and this is amazing because I shuffle these. This is also the resulting card of a previous reading, as well as this being the introduction, the 2 of Swords. So some of us can't help, through a Mercury retrograde sandwiched between 2 eclipses, to feel trapped, blocked, or frustrated. I don't want you to judge yourself too harshly in the month of September, because these are energies that can come out just as quickly as they came in. And the moon, so straight up the eclipse energy, and this is the new moon, partial solar eclipse in the 7th house of relationships. The 13th through the 17th is a time of restriction and frustration for you, Pisces. And, you know, the moon in the tarot rules your sign. So you are emotional over those periods, maybe a little temperamental. This card wants you to really nurture yourself and not judge yourself too harshly, because around you will be some opposing energies. It's inevitable with this month, especially since they affect the partnership sectors and the relationship sectors, and who you're intimate with. So your really close relationships need to be watched what you're saying and watch how you're saying it. Hold off if you can making any judgment calls on relationships right now. But for those of you who are not attached and really have a minimal amount of intimacies going on, this energy could work for you. New moon eclipses bring people in, but don't plan the wedding in September, because the full moon could eclipse them out just as easily. It's really about discerning who's worthy, who is not. All right, Pisces, I hope this was helpful, and I'm wishing you a beautiful September, and I will see you next month. Bye.